My only hope at bringing him back to normal is by showing him the joy of the 2020 summer LEGO Star Wars sets. But there's just something familiar about it. Too familiar. I don't want it. Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here, back in with another video, and this is going to be my review of the 2020 AT-AT set. This is set number 75288. It has 1,267 pieces and retails for $159.99 US dollars. This is the front of the box, and this is the back of the box. Now let's check out the minifigures. First off, we have two snow troopers. Normally I would just have one of these up here, but LEGO has done something pretty cool with this wave of minifigures. The troops specifically, they actually gave them both unique heads, which is awesome. I love that so much. It's been such a long time coming, and LEGO did not just get rid of Angry Clone Face with the updated darker flesh tone clones, but they decided to give these figures that were never clones to begin with unique faces, which is great. I love this from a just accuracy perspective, but also just from a mock builder or collector perspective. The fact that we're now getting more generic faces on troops means if you want to build a Star Wars mock and you want more flesh tone faces, you're getting a greater variety of them in different sets. If they continue with this trend, we're going to basically be able to make a crowd of people that aren't just angry clone faces, but have these nice, unique faces, which I really do appreciate. So kudos to LEGO for doing that. Other than that, these are just the standard snow troopers that we got in the action battle sets. I still would love if they had a cloth comma. I think that would be nice. I get why they stopped doing it because it's printed on and the pockets are on top, and it'd be weird to have pockets underneath the skirt when they're supposed to be on top. But I do still think the cloth skirt works better. It's more aesthetically pleasing and obviously more accurate for those figures. Next up, we have the two AT-AT drivers. These are actually both new figures. The helmet has slight print updates to it. The torso also has some pretty significant print updates. It's just more detailed and more accurate, which is pretty awesome. And these figures also have their own unique faces. And the cool thing about it is these two faces are different from these two faces. All four of these guys have their own faces. I love that. Thank you, LEGO, so much. Once again, if you want a great variety of minifig faces and flesh tone, LEGO is making it easier now than ever. Next up is the Luke Skywalker figure, and this is such a disappointing figure. LEGO is doing so much right with the figures in these sets, and then they included the X-Wing pilot variant of Luke Skywalker. This should be the Snowspeeder variant of Luke Skywalker. It disappoints me that LEGO has been doing this so consistently lately. It's so disappointing to me. But yeah, this is the X-Wing jumpsuit Luke. I love the figure is great. I love the X-Wing jumpsuit design, but he should have the white gloves. He should have the slightly different torso print with the puffy collar. This is just not the Luke that should be in this set, and that's very unfortunate. But next up, this has to be one of my favorite figures in a long time. This General Veers figure is amazing. I know I think it was earlier this year, I did a top 10 list for minifigures that have the best likeness, the minifigures that best capture the actual on-screen person that we see playing the character, and this figure would be on that list if I redid that list today, because it just screams Veers. It is just so accurate, and I love it. He does have a reverse face with kind of a smirk, a confident smirk, which is pretty nice, and his torso and back print are also both very nice. This is just a completely new Veers, from the torso print to the face print, and it all looks incredible. I think the helmet also looks really nice. The only downside to it is they've basically tried to print his very square shaped goggles on a helmet mold that isn't square, so the shape just kind of looks weird. The print doesn't match up with the mold. Ideally, Veers would just get his own helmet mold. I do appreciate that, they included the updated version of this where there are actual goggles molded into it, but those goggles are just not the correct shape. So that is an improvement that can be made, but until then, I will appreciate this Veers figure because it's freaking awesome. So now let's talk about the AT-AT set. There are so many different emotions that were going through my mind when building this set, because the last time I built an AT-AT official Lego set was back when the motorized one came out. So, many years since then that I've built a Lego AT-AT, and I've been very critical of the Lego AT-ATs that have come out recently. I feel like the last three, the last two normal ones and even the motorized one as well, have failed to live up to the greatness that was the original Lego AT-AT, the 44A3 AT-AT. But I think this one might be taking over as the best AT-AT that Lego has ever made. There's a few things I want to talk about right off the bat because people are going to bring them up. The legs. The legs are the thing that I see most often criticized on this AT-AT, which is very unfortunate. People say, oh, it's skip leg day, haha, the legs are too skinny. I don't think that's the case at all. I think people kind of just assume that AT-ATs should have these big, bulky, thick with two C's legs, but that's simply not the case. The legs on the actual AT-AT walkers are pretty skinny, and I think proportion-wise, this works out just fine. Like, I'm looking at this AT-AT, I see nothing wrong with the legs on it. Stop body shaming my precious AT-AT. He's getting very annoyed by it. So to kind of frame where I'm coming from when reviewing these set, I obviously have designed a minifig scale AT-AT walker, so I've spent quite a bit of time in my life just analyzing what AT-AT walkers in Star Wars look like, and this one by far is the most detailed. Like, I can tell whoever was working on this worked extremely hard to get the proportions, the details, everything that they could possibly have be accurate to the actual AT-AT down on this set. And I really appreciate them for doing that, because there's just so many little things I see and I'm like, wow, like, that's so accurate. I love it. So let's talk about a few of those things. One of the things that really sticks out to me on the set are these little round sections in here. This is something you might not notice if you don't really pay attention to AT-AT walkers, but it's so nice because it's accurate. Like, that is exactly what this should look like. And this is the first time that they've really represented this accurately on an AT-AT set. I think on the last one they had this, but it stopped too short. Like, it didn't stick out past the front, like, hip section. It kind of stopped in here. But the fact that it's, rounded right here and rounded on the same part on the backside looks really nice. It's really accurate. And we're continuing with the details. I think Lego did a fantastic job with this assembly right here. The fact that they designed this, with a snot technique to get these vents in here with some depth, I think looks so good. If we're flipping around to the back, I really think they knocked the back design of this AT-AT out of the park. Like, this entire section right here, once again, just looks so accurate. The dark gray flaps right here, I love that. It looks good. I also just think proportion-wise, this AT-AT is so nice. One of the things that I always was annoyed by with the most recent AT-ATs was the body looked far too skinny and narrow, and the panels sloped far too much in. This has a more boxy aesthetic to it, and it looks accurate. The thing that I always notice when I look at those more recent AT-ATs is the fact that there's only basically a 2-stud gap between the tops of these two panels when they meet at the top. This has a 4-stud gap, which looks so much better and makes it look so much wider. Like, the body on the AT-AT should just look wide. It's a very big and bulky vehicle, and Lego finally got back to what it should look like, because the original one had the 4-stud gap here. The two non-motorized ones between them didn't have it, but now we're back to that 4-stud gap, and it makes such a big difference when you're just looking at the AT-AT walker. And then finally, on the detail front, I think they did a just amazing job on the head of the AT-AT walker. I love how they've used various wedge plates to get this design in here, this curve. On the front, I love what they've done. Like, this entire assembly right here was so fun to make, because once again, it's you're building something in some pretty interesting angles, and the way they got what is essentially the windshield of the AT-AT to look like here with these cheese slopes coming together, it just looks so good. Let's talk a little bit about the interior though. You'll be able to open up both sides of the AT-AT, which is nice, just gives you, pretty good access to the inside of it, and you'll see a lot of things that really work for this AT-AT. There is ample seating, so you have 2 seats on this side, 3 seats on the other side, and your snowtroopers fit in here pretty well. Boom, bada bing. You got yourself a snowtrooper in there. You can fit all the troops that come in this set in this AT-AT, which is cool. And you still have room left over. So if you, for example, bought either of the Hoth action battle sets earlier in the year, you can also throw in your snowtroopers from that set to really just load this thing up with troops, which I think most Lego builders will appreciate. Another cool thing is they include the E-Web gun here, so you can take this out and, just sit it on the ground and have your snowtroopers slowly assemble it while the heroes get away. The seats are even the right color, which is insane. Like, I can't believe they put the sand blue seats in here, because the actual seats in the interior of the AT-AT are sand blue. You're also able to open up the back section to access the little snow speeder that comes out, and I love this because they finally overhauled this design. I know they actually changed this for the action battle sets. I think this one's a bit more detailed though, and I appreciate it because they're not using that ugly motorcycle body for this. They've instead made it brick built. I really love the fact they have a megaphone on the bottom to represent that blaster, and it just looks accurate all the way around. It just looks better than it did before. And to stick with the accuracy of the AT-AT, the snow speeders should actually go in the back right here in this exact position. I just love the fact that whoever designed this really studied the AT-AT, and they tried their hardest to get everything they possibly could to be correct on this vehicle. If there was one thing I would have liked to have seen, was maybe a second level somewhere in here. I get why they didn't do it. Like, there's not a ton of room. Maybe if you moved a few things around, you could accomplish it, so I don't really hold it against the set that it's not there, but it could have been a nice touch. By rotating a gear on the inside, you can actually lower and raise Luke Skywalker to be able to access the bottom of the AT-AT walker, which is a nice little feature. Another cool thing is on the underside of the AT-AT, there's actually a door you can flip down so Luke can throw his thermal detonator in there, close it back up, and then blow up the AT-AT from the inside. The thing I love about this mechanism, it's a play feature that, I don't know, as an adult, I probably wouldn't use very often, but I like it because they efficiently use the space in the AT-AT. Traditionally, they just wouldn't have done anything up here. It just would have basically been nothing. And that was very unfortunate. But the fact that they saw, hey, we have some space up here and we can use it for something. What can we do? And they figured out a way to include a pretty clever and fun play feature into this set. I think it's just a testament to how great this set is. There is literally no wasted space anywhere on this set. In the back, you have the snow speeder. In the middle, you have the troop compartment and the E-Web. In this front section, you have the mechanism to raise and lower Luke Skywalker. And even on the bottom, there's a door to load in the thermal detonator. That is just so cool to me. And the accuracy does not stop there. They really went all out with the head on this vehicle. In terms of the interior, there are finally 3 seats. You can actually load in the correct amount of pilots as well as General Veers. It's kind of hard to see in there, and it is a tight fit, but you can fit your 3 figures in there. If you give me 1 second, I'll go ahead and put them in. It is a very tight squeeze, but the fact that you can fit 2 pilots up front and you can sit Veers behind them is just the coolest thing ever for me. The fact that they even tried to make that a feature, I think, is mind-blowing, considering just how small the head on an AT-AT of this scale would have to be. Unfortunately, you can't stand Veers up and close the top. It would get hung up on his head, but if everyone's sitting in there, the top does close just fine, and you have a fully outfitted AT-AT walker. I really do love this set, if you guys can't tell. I can't even complain about this one. It's practically perfect in every single way. It's even swooshable. I think I'm starting to see the light.